Well, greetings and salutations, everyone. I do hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome to this night ending bonus. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help this channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, they definitely do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into this night-ending bonus upload, shall we? Today's first encounter. This took place roughly 14 years ago when I was a teenager. My family moved out of the city and moved to a small town called Deerbrook, situated on the outskirts of Antigua, Wisconsin. Our house was surrounded by woods on 3 sides and a river and field in the back. The first year out there was really calm and relaxing, other than the constant coyote howls every night. But every so often, there would be a different howl. It was a deeper, much louder howl, and it would shake us to our core. At first, my parents would dismiss it as a wolf or a much larger coyote, but something about it seemed off. One night in mid-July, my brother, my sister, and I decided to pitch a tent in the back field along the tree line. We just wanted to go camping. We sat with sticks roasting our marshmallows until it got really dark. Then the typical howls started. But once again, that deep howl was back, and it sounded like it was right in our ears. With how loud that howl was, it was hard to even guess where it was coming from, so we decided to put our fire out and get into the tent. Later that night, my sister fell asleep, so my brother and I were chatting and telling jokes. Within minutes, we heard animals running outside of our tent, and then this little raccoon started to claw at the side of the tent that I was sleeping on. At first, I kept poking at it, but then we heard something else. The crack of sticks from the trees. At that point, my brother thought it was a bear and told us to be quiet and woke my sister up. We started to hear footsteps coming closer and closer. Pretty quickly, they were right next to me. The raccoon bolted out of there. And there started to have this strange odor coming from somewhere. It smelled like copper, sulfur, and wet dog. It was almost overpowering and made me want to puke. Then we heard our mom calling us, and she had shined a flashlight on us. It revealed the most unsettling thing I had ever seen. The shadow of this thing was shining through our tent, and it was massive. It had pointed ears that were tilted back like a dog on the prowl, and its hands were human-looking with long fingers that ended in a point. The mouth was in the shape of a snout, but just much shorter. And it had a mid-sized tail. My mom started screaming, and whatever this thing was bolted back into the woods. We rushed inside to our mom, and didn't go back outside for a few days. Fast forward a few months, I was in the living room with my mom while my sister was in the shower. We were watching Wheel of Fortune or something like that when my sister screamed bloody murder. My mom jumps up and went to go get her. She pulled her out of the bathroom, and I was curious as to why she was freaking out, so I went to see. Above the shower is one of those super small windows that only a small head could fit through, and in that window was a set of glowing red eyes staring down at me. We stared at each other for what felt like forever. I didn't feel any fear, more just curiosity, and I didn't feel like I was in danger at the time. As my mom came in to pull me out, the eyes turned away as well. The rest of the night was quiet after that. A few days later, my brother came back from his dad's. Him and I had bunk beds, so I'd always take the bottom bunk. That night was kind of a gloomy night. It wasn't really windy, but it was drizzling just a little bit. Later in the night, my brother and I woke up to our window being opened. It was locked beforehand, by the way. After that, we just closed it and went back to bed. It happened again and again, like 3 more times. Each time we locked it, but the final time was the worst. It flung open so hard that the glass shattered, and the thing we saw pushed it open. The same hand from the tent, but I could clearly see it now. It had matted black fur, or hair rather, covering its whole arm. The skin on the palms were like a light tan, and the claws were at least 5 to 6 inches long. And on the bottom of the window I saw its face, or what was showing. It was just its eyes glowing bright red. They looked like embers of a roaring fire. My brother and I bolted up, grabbed our sister, and locked ourselves in the back gaming room. We stayed there for the rest of the night, and when my mom came home, we told her. We packed our things and moved out of that house in a day, only taking what we could fit in the car and a U-Haul. My stepdad's truck was full as well, and we never returned. To this day, my family is scared to talk about it, but if my brother and I have a few drinks, we discuss it. My mom just shuts down whenever it's brought up. Some of you may have heard this experience, and I wanted to share it because I wanted to follow up with a experience I had heard from a subscriber. Her and her husband had gone to a friend's kind of trailer. It was kind of set out in the middle of nowhere. Couple acres with woods surrounding it. Just very rural. Probably the nearest neighbor was a couple of miles away. And this guy had a very large blockhead pit bull. Very, very nice dog. Very protective of anyone who was friends with the owner. And very protective of the owner and in the house or the trailer. The trailer was set on blocks, and it was missing the skirting. And so where the bathroom was all the way in the back. The whole back end kind of portion was the bathroom. And there was one of those small windows. And the front, so this is the back. The front's got that kind of ball hitch where it's used to move the trailer. And, it still has the wheels. It's practically a brand new trailer. It just didn't have the skirting on. More or less, the dog, because it wanted to, would stay out at night. And its chain was attached to like the back of the trailer, and it had a long area to run. And per the owner and per the subscriber who shared it with me, the dog, if brought in, would want to be outside, unless it was cold or snowing or raining or whatnot. But it really enjoyed being outside. So it would use the underneath of the trailer. The guy kind of had it set up with some hay under there. And it would kind of just lounge under there at night. And so they had been drinking and eating. They had a barbecue and whatnot. And the subscriber's husband got up and said, "I got to use your bathroom." And he uses the bathroom. And he's a big dude. He's really not afraid of much. Career military, I believe, Marines. And he had seen action in, I believe, the first tour or first conflict over in Iraq. And so, this is not recent. And he's in the bathroom, and he hears this growl, and he's on the toilet. He's going to the bathroom, and he hears this growl come from the window above and behind him. He thinks it's the dog. And he's like, da-da-da. So he finishes up. And then he hears this, like, kind of scuffling. And gets up and kind of looks out. And sees these red eyes staring at him. Now, if you've ever been at a newer trailer that's on blocks, it's sitting on the blocks, but it's still sitting on the wheels as well, and it's got wheel locks on them. This thing is at least 9 feet tall. It is absolutely huge, whatever's staring at this guy. He screams, and his wife comes running toward the back because it's a scream she has never heard. And I emphasize on this guy is, he's seen multiple tours of action. He's just, and he hunts outdoorsman, fisherman, hunter, whatnot. So he doesn't get too nervous in the woods or, by anything really. So she hears this scream, and he kind of pushes her out. She catches the eyes as they're staring in, and he slams the door. And they don't really hear anything the rest of the night. They don't go outside. They kind of just stay in. The owner of the trailer is passed out. Long day, barbecue, drinking, stuff like that. But it's important to know that these guys were not, the husband and wife, they were not drunk. They had a buzz, but nothing to, and you'll see why. The next morning they wake up and there's claw marks all down the back side of the trailer. And the owner of the trailer's pit bull is torn apart. Just savagely destroyed. And it's a very sad encounter, sad story. But this is how big they are. They are big. They are very dangerous predators. And that story kind of reminded me of this subscriber experience. So, on to today's first video clip. This video clip is very strange. I guess the background of it's kind of limited, taken on a CCTV cam outside of somebody's work. And it's pretty weird looking. It does definitely look quadruped. And it kind of looks like it's supposed to be bipedal as well. And it's kind of staging in and out of reality. Like we've heard many people say when they've seen Dogman, that they kind of fluctuate between this world and another. And it's pretty creepy. So give it a look-see. Remember, it's your opinion, not mine. Very creepy video footage. And, I'm not, I don't like sharing my opinion at all. But with this, You can see it moving bipedally, but then you can see it kind of, whatever it is, it looks like it has arms. Um, some sort of creature. I don't know what. And like I said, it's kind of fading in and out of our world and the next. Or it's a real major glitch on the camera. Very strange. So, moving on to today's second encounter. I grew up an only child in rural Pennsylvania. I used to sneak out of my bedroom and hang out in our backyard on summer nights when I had trouble sleeping or woke up in the middle of the night. This was around the ages of 6 through 8, the mid-90s. I'd go sit just below the top of the backyard hill, where I was out of sight of our kitchen window. There were trees to the left with a wide open field across the rest of the mile-wide valley. We had a large hill with a bump in the middle. That was perfect for sledding in the winter. Below that was a field with a deer trail cutting through the bottom of the hill, and a creek beyond at the center of the valley. On a clear night, with a bright moon, you could see across that valley I grew up in, about a mile from where my best friend's house had their floodlights on all night behind their house. And when I say rural, I mean very rural Pennsylvania. Parent-teachers conferences were scheduled the first day of hunting season, and kids would often be out for a couple of days just for that. We had 2 houses in the eye line of our house from the backyard. It was more than 30 miles to our nearest Walmart. I also grew up very familiar with deer, bear, rabbit. I even saw a mountain lion once while hiking with my family. All of this to say, I am familiar with the wildlife here. The first night I saw a Dogman was like any other. I was chilling in the grass, thrilled just to be doing something my parents didn't know about. I saw something moving quickly along the deer trail. It was dark black against the rest of the night. Partway through this path from the woods beside my house, it noticed me and stopped. We just stared at each other for what felt like a long time. It stood up, and its ears were long enough to notice from 100 yards or so distance. It was too thin to be a black bear, which I had already seen a few times at that age. The staring continued for a long time. Eventually it put its ears back down and put its front paws or hands on the ground and sprinted across the valley. I called it my werewolf because of the shape of it standing up. I don't think I ever told anybody. Like now, I loved having secrets, but after that first sighting, I went and sat outside a lot. I remember once on a new moon I sat on the porch because I was too scared to go too far with how dark it was without a moon. I saw it 3 or 4 times after that. It was usually running into the woods by my house, which were more than 10 full acres owned just for hunting season. My werewolf never bothered me after that, but I remember I was really disappointed when it got cold outside and I'd have to stop going out at night because I wouldn't see it again. Tonight's second video clip is very interesting. A while ago, or about 2 weeks ago, before the huge trend of people talking about it, there was a TikToker that disappeared and ended up winding up dead. I shared the video with you guys, and then everyone was sharing it. You can see the giant in this guy's video clip. I'm not going to even say it was a Bigfoot because it's far too big. Well, there's a group of 15 hikers in California, and they spot something very similar. And it's, judging from the distance, you cannot accurately tell how tall this thing is. But judging from the distance watching this video, this thing is absolutely huge. And it's in the northern part of California, so I'm imagining like Humboldt region. And that's prime area for anything to really hide. So yeah, check it out. You really can see how big this thing is, and it really is moving. I told you this video is freaky, and you can see the size of this thing. It's walking, it's moving. There's no explanation for what it is. Humans don't appear that big, that far away, even zoomed in, but it's really not zoomed in. The camera may have zoomed a little bit to catch it, but nothing's gonna make it that big. Just absolutely huge. There are rumors that there are giants up north, you know. And I live up north. I live in the Adirondacks of New York, so, but I'm saying there's rumors of giants in California, Northern California, and Oregon and Washington, Canada, Alaska. So I'm not really sure what this thing is. It's pretty interesting though. All right, let's move on to tonight's third encounter. I'm sharing this from Trenton, Ontario, and I'm currently scared. There's been many occurrences of stuff happening. Today's not it. I decided I wasn't going to sleep for school the following morning, so I sometimes do this. Anyway, I had a very odd vibe coming from my room's window. I'm usually not the type of person to be afraid of my window, but today I just couldn't look at it. There was a haunting feeling coming from it. I kind of brushed it off. I called my friend on Discord and played some video games. Where I play my video games, the window is directly behind me, and I can generally hear what's going on behind me. Every 10 minutes or so, I'd hear a clicking noise. 2 clicks, to be precise. My room is on the second story, and there are no trees relatively close enough to create that noise. So each time I heard it, I would sort of try and make an excuse for it. Oh, it's just a squirrel or something. Or, oh, maybe it's water. But after listening carefully each time, I came to notice that it was most definitely none of those. At around 3:55 a.m., my friend went to sleep. I was just sort of vibing, watching TikToks, and I started hearing rapid tapping. The tapping was so mortifyingly human that I froze and continued to listen to this tapping. I then recognized a 5-finger tapping pattern, and I was horrified. I sat for maybe 15 minutes straight, not looking anywhere but exactly where I froze. After calming myself down and finally letting myself breathe, I got up, not making eye contact with any wall or window. And I went to a room with no windows and vibrated for a bit. I finally went back to my room at around 4:50 a.m. I went and lied in bed, and as soon as my head hit the pillow, I heard a muffled howl barking coming from my forest. Usually, I would just brush it off as my neighbor's dog, but it didn't sound like her. It didn't sound like Layla at all. It couldn't be wolves, coyotes, because they never cross a certain part of that forest, which is surprisingly closer to the 401. At this point, I was really freaked out, and I just tried to continue my morning. That's where the odd stuff ends for the night. That was definitely not the first time this crap has happened. We have a really old house, and my parents think it may be ghosts, as they've heard things mock them. Weird laser lights being pointed around the house that are a strange green, whispering, black shadows hovering over my crib as a child, and an old British woman calling out names. I agree with all that, but I think the thing lurking in the forest by my window is different. Another weird thing that I found is when we redid the insulation for my room / drywall underneath the insulation was 1950s clothes, old newspapers, and weird signs like pagan spray painted in black, a goat's head, and a bunch of gibberish words. We covered it up, but it sort of haunts me to know what lies beneath the newspaper or wallpaper. Thanks for allowing me to share. Hopefully it helps. The next video we are going to check out is a video clip out of Florida, and what the person who took the video claims to be a skunk ape. And it's pretty interesting. Actually, I find all of these videos interesting, so I don't know why I keep saying that. It's definitely interesting, and I'm not really sure. So let's check it out. So, like I said, I'm fascinated and I'm loving all of these video clips. And even if I can't distinguish if they're real or not, and I'm kind of on the fence or I'm not on the fence, I think they're all very interesting. Especially the one with the Sasquatch and the baby Sasquatch on 4th of July yesterday that I played. And that one just, if there's any solid video evidence of these creatures existing, Dogman, Bigfoot, whatnot, that video evidence right there is completely, to me, it's got me. And it's very, very, I don't know how I feel about that. You see a Sasquatch, whether it be a male or a female, pick up their young and hold them with love, I guess. Love is instinctual, so who knows? It just shows that they have some sort of feelings, which is cool to know. Anyway, I figured I'd share another very interesting video clip before I shared tonight's last encounter. This is a husband and wife are walking around in British Columbia. They're hiking on some back trails, and they kind of just look off to the water. And on this little inlet, or not inlet, but kind of land jutting out, they see what they can only think is a Sasquatch, because there's really no other way of getting down there. Why would a human be out on that kind of little piece of land in the middle of nowhere? And how it moved. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting video. So check it out, guys. Tonight's final encounter. My friend, who happens to be an environmentalist out in the Pine Barrens, saw a Dogman in Manchester County, New Jersey. His name's H, and he and his friends were going camping in the woods in his large pickup truck. He was looking toward the woodline to make sure no deer were going to jump into view. The truck was going about 40 miles an hour, and he noticed something following them in the trail. He told his friends to slow down a bit because they saw something following them, and before he could slow down, the creature jumped in the middle of the path and then back into the woods. They all got a clear description of what this thing was. My friend said it was tall, about 7 to 9 feet, with the body of a bodybuilder, perked ears, and a snout like a German shepherd. He also said that the appendages this animal had were human-like, but with large claws at the end of its hands and feet, with a large bushy tail. After the event, he looked over at his friends, and they all looked like they had seen a ghost, with the blood draining out of their face. He still tells this experience to this day, and I believe every word of it, because number one, I've talked to his friends who were with him, and they all say the same thing. That last upload was dedicated to my good friend Paul Pedersen, who has spent the majority of his adult life studying and researching experiences about the Jersey Devil. I've had him on this channel, and he shared his experiences with us. He had never heard of Dogman until I reached out to him, and then he started to put two and two together that possibly some of the accounts of the Jersey Devil may be Dogman, which I really never thought of either. But he made a great point. You know, the pictures that you see, large snout, kind of springs into action, is able to jump very far, red glowing eyes, etc., etc., etc. Well, minus the wings, which, who knows, maybe that's just the arms kind of, however it is when it's jumping. But anyway, he had done some research and he had spotted some Dogman tracks and experiences in the Pine Barren region as well. So I believe this guy's experience myself. If you guys are ever bored or, want a good read, I encourage you guys to pick up Paul's book. It's Paul Evans Pedersen Jr., New Tales from Old Haunts, the Legendary Pine Barrens. And there you have it, folks. I do hope you all enjoyed this night-ending bonus upload as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps this channel growing and going and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please, everyone, stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. Keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.